Hello, I'm Damian Graham. I'm with the City of Raleigh, and today I'm with our Chief of Police, Estella Patterson. Chief, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So we're here to talk about a tough issue, which is gun violence. And I know that when you became our chief a little over a year ago, this was something that you've been very passionate about and a priority for you to address. Chief, tell us where we are when it comes to gun violence within the City of Raleigh right now.
You're absolutely right in terms of this being a priority for me. Since day one, I've been talking about reducing violence in Raleigh. It's important for us to have a safe city. But we're seeing, this year an increase in the number of homicides that are related to gun violence, which is problematic, and we have to work towards a solution to that. When we just look across the board, as far as our aggravated assaults involving firearms, they are the same number as they were last year. But it's the homicides that we really want to focus on to try to prevent those. Also, too, we're seeing more instances in which young people, our juveniles, those under 18 years old, having access to firearms and using those indiscriminately. So we, as a community, we have to work towards solutions for that.
So is that something that is unique to Raleigh, or is that something we're seeing across the country?
Unfortunately, it's national. And as a nation, we have to come up with an answer to this. We go all the way back to 2020. We think about in 2020, we were going through a very turbulent time as a nation, as a world. As a result of that, we saw in the United States an increase in gun permits being issued, individuals purchasing firearms, and now you have all these weapons in our society. You couple that with the fact that we're dealing with mental health challenges, those who are not dealing well, adjusting well to our social economic status or situation here in our nation, is causing a lot of problems. It's almost becoming a perfect storm, if you will, for us in terms of violence. And so as a chief, it is my priority that we're looking very strongly at how do we prevent it, first of all, and then also to how we make sure that the community is involved in that prevention.
So Chief, given the complexity of this issue, what are some of the steps that we are taking within the department and within our city?
So we're doing several things. One is I had to go back and look at what the City of Raleigh's strategic plan is on reduced firearms violence. And that's really made up of three components. One is looking at intelligence-led policing, using technology and best practices to try to reduce the violence. Also to community engagement, and then thirdly, educating our employees, making sure that our police officers are trained to handle what we're dealing with right now. So what is exactly that we're doing? With intelligence-led policing, we are really focusing on problem locations. If there are areas where we get those repeated calls for service about gun violence, about shots being fired, our officers are present in those locations to do that. I get the calls from members of the community saying, I'm hearing shots being fired in my community. I'm uneasy about that. I'm concerned about that. And I share that concern. So we want to make sure that our officers are in those locations as much as possible. Certainly we can't be everywhere, but we do want to focus on those repeat problems locations. Also too, repeat offenders. And I've spoken about this before. We have been very targeted in working with our partners, our federal partners, our local partners, to determine who are those individuals that are victimizing in our community. Who are those individuals who are carrying guns, who are shooting at people, whether it's in a drug deal or something like that, and really focusing on those. And I'm so happy that we worked with the U.S. Attorney's Office, in which 27 indictments came down because of that. And we talked about that back in June. But then also too, I'm making sure that we're utilizing technology, because that's going to help us 100% in trying to identify who these individuals are, identify where these problem locations are, and making sure that we have those resources there. So we're using data to help us figure that out, and then ensuring that we respond accordingly. Aside from that, though, I want to make sure that my officers are in the right place at the right time, that they're addressing the issues that we're seeing with gun violence. And in doing that, having education, getting the training so that we can be aware of that. The biggest thing that our supervisors are doing in our roll calls is telling our officers, hey, you have to have situational awareness. When you're out on patrol, when you're out in the street, be attentive to what is going on. If a community member is flagging you down because shots are being fired, or they have information about someone who might be committed a crime, to be there to address that. So that is huge for us. That's the education component. And then thirdly, community. We cannot do this work alone. I believe that the community knows more than we know as the police about who is committing these crimes and where they're occurring. So we want the community to be a part of the solution with us.
I'm sure there are many folks who are watching this today that would love to be part of the solution. what's a way that they can contribute?
Yeah, so the great thing is, the city of Raleigh has made investments in our community violence interrupter program that we're going to start here in Raleigh. That is fully community based. And so that is members of the community saying that I want to be boots on the ground, to go talk to our young people, to talk to whoever is committing these crimes before they happen, and to interrupt that violence. If you want to be a part of that, we want nonprofits, we want community groups to come together, we want community members, we need mentors for our young men in our community. If you want to be a part of that, that's very simple. The Raleigh Apex chapter of the NAACP is leading that effort. Gerald Givens is the president. And so he is available, and we'll make that information available for everyone who wants it. But I do encourage members of the public to get involved in helping us to come up with solutions to the issues that we're facing. Also, too, I ask the public to be completely vigilant. You have to be aware of your surroundings. If you see someone that's behaving strangely, if you know of someone that you're seeing that they're all of a sudden very introverted, they're having ideations about killing, they're playing video games that are very problematic or very violent, we need to know who those individuals are. And if not the police, certainly social service groups. You can contact them and say, hey, I've noticed some things. I don't want to profile the individual, but I've just noticed these behaviors that I think might be concerning. And being able to share that information so that we can look into it to see if this individual is, has a propensity or may, engage in some kind of violent behavior.
So, Chief, I've heard you talk about the issue of guns being found in vehicles. Can you speak to that a little bit, please?
Yes, that's a huge problem that we are seeing with more weapons being in the community. We really want to stress to residents, lawful gun owners, to please make sure that you are securing those weapons. Just year to date in 2022, there have been 528 firearms stolen, period. 302 stolen from vehicles. That is an alarming number. So I do encourage everyone to make sure that those weapons are secure, make sure that they are not in the reach, particularly of juveniles, because even a child can get a firearm and can fire that weapon. So it's really important that we pay attention to that and that parents are concerned about that.
Well, Chief, I know you are busy. I so appreciate you taking time to share with us today, and I appreciate you watching it. For everything that the Chief mentioned today, you can find it on our website, raleighnc.gov. And thank you, Chief, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you for watching.